Welcome back, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for today's explainer. We are jumping right into a totally fascinating piece of source material today. A highly viral, modern prophetic claim that's been capturing a ton of attention across the internet. We're going to break down an intense audio account where a speaker describes a mystical vision involving literally one of the most recognizable brands on the planet. Whether you're approaching this as a student of modern religious phenomena, sociology, or just pop culture, there is so much to unpack here about how media gets viewed through a deeply, deeply spiritual lens. So what actually happens when a modern vision targets a massive, beloved entertainment empire? Well, that is the exact question we're exploring today. We are going to impartially map out the startling premise presented by our source, a speaker who claims to have witnessed the divine, instantaneous destruction of Walt Disney. Throughout this explainer, we'll be relying entirely on the provided account to understand the structure of this vision, the intense warnings issued to parents, and, perhaps most importantly, the exact words the speaker claims were spoken by the divine.
Section 1. The Vision of Swift Destruction, a cartoon town in ruins. Okay, let's dive into this and begin with the very first sequence of the speaker's vision.
Picture this. According to the account, the speaker suddenly finds themselves transported into this highly specific, recognizable location. They're standing in the middle of a vibrant, cartoon-themed city. Imagine an environment built entirely like a children's amusement park, designed to make you feel as though you've stepped directly inside an animated world. And the defining feature that anchors this whole vision? The speaker looks up and sees this massive, life-size Mickey Mouse decoration mounted right on top of one of the buildings. In the narrative of the vision, this iconic symbol is the exact moment the speaker realizes they are standing right in the heart of Disney. But that sense of colorful wonder? It doesn't last long at all. Now, what's really wild here is how specific the source gets about the actual mechanics of this event. The speaker describes being completely shocked by the unnatural speed of what happens next. Step 1. A massive, singular flame falls unexpectedly from heaven. We're not talking scattered embers here, but one giant entity. Step 2. It lands with an immediate impact, like a single, swift boom. And step 3. Instant blackness. The speaker is super emphatic that this was not a slow-burning fire that gradually consumed the buildings. No, the moment it landed, the fire's work was literally already complete. The vibrant cartoon town was instantly transformed into charred, total destruction. Moving to Section 2, the charge of witchcraft. The crowd reacts. So, as the smoke clears, or actually, scratch that, immediately upon the instantaneous destruction, let's look at the reactions of the spectral spectators in this vision. The speaker hears this spectral crowd just erupt in shock. People are gasping, marveling at how impossible it would have been to save the place because of how incredibly fast the fire fell. And out of this whole chorus of awe and terror, the speaker hears specific voices. One person asks, what chance did they stand? But then, another voice from the crowd provides the claimed justification for the whole catastrophe, stating simply, they practiced witchcraft. To really understand the depth of this claim, we have to look at this stark contrast. Mainstream society's stated purpose for this company is, harmlessly entertaining children, but the source alleges an intense, completely inverted purpose, actively bewitching them. The speaker alleges the company is brainwashing kids with a deliberate, malicious spiritual agenda to turn them into slaves of sin and candidates of hell as soon as they're old enough. It's a total 180-degree inversion of the public brand image. Section 3, What the Lord Said, the Divine Decrees. Okay, so here is the crucial point, and it's actually the main focus of our explainer today. What exactly did the divine voice say in this account? I want to really slow down here because this is the first of two direct divine quotes that anchor the entire source. In the midst of the crowd's shock, the speaker claims an audible, distinct voice cut right through the noise. They distinguish this voice from the spectral crowd, identifying it as the audible voice of God finalizing the judgment. The decree is clear, it's absolute, and it's brief. In one day it shall be brought to the ground. Notice how it's presented not as a warning of what might happen, but as an unchangeable verdict of what definitely will occur due to the company's alleged practices. So the vision of the burning city ends, but that divine communication, it keeps going. The speaker notes that this second quote was not spoken audibly, but directly to their heart. Therefore, come out of her, my people, so that you will not partake of her plagues. If that sounds familiar, it's because it echoes highly recognizable biblical language, specifically from the book of Revelation.
Within the context of our source material, this is the ultimate directive. It's a strict command to separate entirely from these entertainment industries before that swift judgment arrives. These two quotes, everything the Lord supposedly said here, form the absolute foundation of the speaker's message. Section 4. The playground of deception. Luring the innocent. To fully grasp the why behind this severe judgment, the speaker unpacks a secondary vision they had received previously.
And this prior vision brilliantly illustrates the speaker's underlying theology of media. In it, the speaker is standing in the middle of a playground. Scattered around are these large rocks with flat surfaces, and on each rock is a poster of a popular secular cartoon character. Children as young as 2 or 3, some literally barely learning to walk, are excitedly running toward their favorite characters. But standing right in the center of these rocks is a man the speaker identifies as Satan. He looks like a regular guy, welcoming the toddlers with open arms, patting their heads as they happily cling to his arms and legs. The speaker uses this playground imagery to claim that Satan is basically getting to children through secular cartoons. But how? Well, the source points to hidden symbolism and subliminal messaging. The speaker recounts an anecdote about an animator who allegedly had to resign because they were being forced to insert explicit, hidden content into a children's show. The claim here is that these aren't just harmless drawings, right? They're calculated, clandestine vehicles for ungodly content designed to secretly bewitch young, impressionable audiences.
Finally, Section 5, a warning to parents, the scriptural defense. Let's see how this all builds into the speaker's final resolution, moving away from mystical visions and heavily grounding their call to action in established biblical text.
The speaker just rapid fires this list of scriptures to justify their absolute demand that parents pull their kids away from secular entertainment. They cite 2 Corinthians, asking what fellowship light has with darkness. They invoke Psalm 101, I will set no wicked thing before my eyes. They pull from 1 John and Romans, urging listeners not to love or conform to the world. And finally, they use Ephesians 5 to command audiences to have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness. For the speaker, allowing children to watch these cartoons isn't just some passive choice. It's an active surrender of their kids to spiritual darkness. So what's the source's ultimate solution here? Well, it's an absolute pivot. The speaker urges parents to completely abandon what they categorize as ungodly entertainment, meaning stories that normalize magic, witchcraft, immorality, or portray demons as friends. Instead, they advocate transitioning entirely to godly stories that actively model obedience and honor to God. It's essentially about building a massive protective wall against that cultural playground we looked at earlier. Which brings us right to the end of our explainer and leaves us with a genuinely fascinating final thought. When we look at this viral account, the vivid destruction of a cartoon city, the very specific decrees attributed to the Lord, and those intense scriptural warnings, it really forces us to ask, how do modern audiences interpret pop culture through a spiritual lens? What happens when a global brand becomes a symbol of ultimate spiritual warfare for a segment of the population? It is such a captivating intersection of modern media and intense religious interpretation. I really hope this explainer helped map out the source material clearly for you. Thanks so much for focusing in with me today. And hey, keep asking those big questions.